This picture, truly one of the most unusual ever filmed, contains scenes which, under no circumstances, should be viewed by anyone with a heart condition or anyone who is easily upset.
Sunday, a good day to correct some false teaching and lies that you've been told while sitting in church or even watching movies, reading books. Moses, chosen by God, given the 10 Commandments. Most of the laws are based on that today. Even your Constitution in America some of it is based on the 10 Commandments. Moses, born in Africa, raised by Africans. Moses was a Hebrew, an Israelite, and a black man. All Hebrews were black.
All Hebrews were black.
The Valley of Dry Bones, the conditions that face black people in America. Rudolph R. Windsor. Right here, the Bible, an African book. The Bible is an African book. Black people wrote the Bible, and they wrote it primarily about themselves. As I shall demonstrate, then you can judge for yourselves. The first nation mentioned in the Bible is an African nation called Ethiopia, Genesis 2 and 13. I'm going to read a couple more highlighted points. Take notice that the African Hebrews did not mention anything about England, France, or Germany, but Ethiopia was the first nation mentioned. The good book connects so-called black people with the creation story in the first civilization. Right? African people and places. Let me see. Right here. Having African ancestors, the people were mostly black or brown.
God will never forgive you for having a black child.
How do you know, Vivian? Maybe he'll be pleased. Maybe God is black.
I mean, that's just obvious, right? The ancient historians did not use names of continents such as Asia or Africa. They used national or tribal names. This is facts. Likewise, we find a plurality of information about African people and black people in the Bible. Therefore, we must conclude that it is an African book. When the writers of the Bible mention that the Hebrews, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and Moses went down into Egypt, this meant that they went into Africa. Common sense. Egypt is in Africa. Ding dong. The Egyptians enslaved the Hebrew people for allegedly 400 years. These Hebrews were not Europeans. I repeat,
these Hebrews were not Europeans.
The Holocaust is big business because Germany so far has given the Jews, I think, at least $200 billion. So it's big business. And some of you are still getting $1,000 a month. And a lot of people don't know this. And then people don't realize who brought the slaves to America. They were Jewish ships.
Wait a minute. That's a whole nother thing. Let's take a break, because the issue that we're talking about today is whether or not there was a Holocaust. We'll talk about slavery and who brought them here later.
We'll talk about slavery and who brought them here later.
We'll be back up this. I'm not going to let you go now.
Bernie Sanders suggested to me that Israel should now decline the billions of dollars it receives in U.S. aid annually.
The idea that a member of the United States Congress cannot visit a nation, which, by the way, we support to the tune of billions and billions of dollars, is clearly an outrage. And if Israel doesn't want members of the United States Congress to visit their country to get a first-hand look at what's going on, and I've been there many, many times, but if he doesn't want members to visit, maybe he can respectfully decline the billions of dollars that we give to Israel.
All right, so what's the foreign aid? What's the billions of dollars that Sanders is talking about? Here's the deal. The United States has been sending money to Israel for decades. In fact, Israel has been the largest cumulative recipient of U.S. foreign assistance since World War II. Now, so far, Israel has racked up a total of approximately $142.3 billion in aid. This is bilateral assistance, missile defense funding, and other forms of military aid and cash aid. Just to give you the scope of how much this is annually, Israel received $3.2 billion in aid in the fiscal year 2017 alone. The same year, the U.S. spent more than $46 billion in total foreign aid. About 7% of that went to Israel. The only two countries in 2017 that received more were Afghanistan and Iraq. In 2016, the United States formally signed a foreign aid agreement with Israel. It's the largest aid package in American history. It requires the United States to send $38 billion in military aid to Israel over a 10-year period, and it prohibits any future president from withdrawing from the agreement until 2026.
But African Hebrews, Moses, the Hebrew liberator and lawgiver, led his people out of the African nation of Egypt to the wilderness of Sinai, the peninsula east of Egypt. Like Palestine, Sinai is a part of Africa. The prophet Ezekiel knew this when he said, "Like as I, the Most High, pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of Egypt." Ezekiel 20:36. The wilderness of the land of Egypt is in the peninsula of Sinai. Hence, it is part of Africa.
Spears going straight in the arms of the white slave traders and the British troops on the borders of the Cape Colony. In a way, Lieutenant, they are the ultimate victims of recent history. If you'll favour my comparison, they are the wandering Jews of Africa. Fleeing the Pharaoh Shaka, they are the wandering Jews of Africa. Fleeing the Pharaoh Shaka, they are the wandering Jews of Africa. Fleeing the Pharaoh Shaka into the Babylonian captivity of slavery.
Die in that trap.